All right, welcome into Before Floor, an extension of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Biscayne Bay Brewing. Make sure you ask for it by name, whether you're in a restaurant or whether you're at your favorite supermarket/convenience store, BiscayneBayBrewing.com. Find out where you can get it there. Official beer of the Miami Marlins, and also have a partnership with the Miami Heat and, of course, with us. Also sponsored by InsuranceByLynette.com, A Aggressive Insurance, 954-581-8800, 954-581-8800. She'll help you with all kinds of different insurance, but specifically, she can help you with car insurance, especially if you don't have the best driving record. So make sure you reach out to our friend Lynette. She's also a frequent commenter here. All right, let's get to it. Second game of a mini-series here against the Boston Celtics. The big news in the past 24 hours were a couple of things. One, we thought maybe Atlanta might lose to Westbrook last night, and I say Westbrook because that's who it was. That didn't end up happening. They win by a point, so they cement their status. The Knicks' schedule is still difficult. The other big news, of course, is that Jaylen Brown, someone who we actually thought might play in the first of these games and certainly in the second one, is out for the season. So let's start here, and I'll go to Greg, and then we'll kind of pivot around this time. I mean, the significance of that for Boston, I mean, you basically just found out that your season can't go anywhere, right? Like, I mean, best case scenario.
You're right. And so there's two ways that this usually goes. And I mean, a lot of people can probably guess, like either they rally around and initially they're going to look really energized about the situation, or it's going to go the complete opposite. And they're going to be like, get me the hell out of here. And so it'll be interesting to see their demeanor tonight, specifically coming off of that news. Tatum has continued to shoot weird against Miami, and I don't think that that's going to continue. So I'm interested to see that. So I'm expecting them to be full force. But, I mean, if you think about it, if the Heat just found out Bam was done for the season, how excited would they be to play tonight?
Right. And, Brady, on the Heat side, everybody's playing, right? So really not a lot changes.
Yeah, everybody's playing. And to that point, though, about Jaylen Brown, I wanted to make the where I kind of stand on is that, Brad Stevens was talking about the adjustments they have to make. It's not the adjustments you make in a one-game period without Jaylen Brown or multiple games. This is a season-wide adjustment that you're going to have to go into a play-in or a playoff where you're not going to have him, so you're going to have to change everything. And he talked about changing everything on offense and defense, that all scheme-wise is going to change. And there's 3 games left in the season, so you expect him to just throw everything out there tonight to try to throw defensively and offensively, see what works. So this is a type of situation that I think favors Miami, that they can allow these type of things to go on the fly and kind of find the exploit for them.
But we also know, Mr. Ramakan, that the Heat sometimes don't do well with prosperity. They're in some prosperity right now. Prosperity right now. They just won the first game of this series. They can basically clinch the fact that they're not going to make the play-in tonight. I know one of the things that needs to happen with Charlotte, but still. And also we know that when they don't know where it's coming from sometimes offensively, that's the word. I mean, they did give up 124 in the last game. So Boston may score anyway without Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I mean, you still have the head of the table there, right? Jason Tatum is still playing. Kemba Walker is still there. And then, tertiary, they'll probably go to somebody like Marcus Smart. So I don't think it's as bad as if you're playing on a Washington without Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. I think where you're going to start off, where Coach Spo is going to start the defense focused on. So I'm not as worried as one of these scrubs coming off of Boston's bench and going off against us. I think that with the talent that they have, it's still a manageable team. It's almost like what happened to Denver when they lost Jamal Murray and they kind of were able to, steady the ship. Obviously, Jason Tatum isn't the MVP candidate that Jokic is, but I think the ship might be still kind of steady because they've been playing without him anyways recently. So they might have that adjustment there anyways.
Ricky, I know everybody is sort of betting on your pick here, but we'll get to the pick here a little bit later. But historically, the Ewing theory, which I know you're very familiar with, that's Bill Simmons' theory. Patrick Ewing went out. Yep. The Knicks got to the finals in '99 as an 8 seed without him. They adjusted around Camby. But I feel like the Ewing theory works either really well for very small sample sizes. In other words, you lose everybody in the game like Atlanta did, against the Heat, and they beat the Heat this year. Or maybe with a little bit more preparation. I don't really – to me, this doesn't seem to me like a Ewing theory situation for Boston going forward.
Oh, I think it is
Oh, you do?
because if you remember correctly, in 2018, Boston lost Kyrie at the end of the season, made it within
Sure.
a couple of possessions of the NBA Finals, but
Sure.
LeBron happened, right? So the interesting thing tonight is that we've got actually quite a few scenarios set up, not only with regards to Boston. For example, Atlanta clinches a playoff spot with a loss by Boston and a win by New York. The Heat clinch a playoff spot with a win. If New York beats the Lakers tonight and the Heat also win, they clinch a playoff spot, and Philly clinches the best record in the East with a win or with losses by Brooklyn and Milwaukee, with the playoffs beginning Saturday, May 22nd. I think with Miami, and this is one of the reasons why I do have some concerns about tonight, is that, Boston may have lost Jaylen Brown, but they almost came back and took it from Miami on Sunday. Now you've got another game facing them tonight, and it's like, well, okay, they've got nothing left to lose, theoretically speaking, and we could very well see them in a situation where they smack Miami really hard, and Miami, instead of securing a higher seed like they could have done in 2017, they could end up potentially losing a tough one tonight against Boston.
Brady, I think you mentioned that maybe this may be a little bit more about Kendrick Nunn today. Why?
Well, I think looking at last game, the guys that we were talking about, if you're looking at the role players, Duncan Robinson had a great game. Tyler Hero had a stretch where he was scoring well. Goran Dragic carried the bench unit. Dwayne Dedmon in the second half even, got going. But Kendrick Nunn was the reason they got out to that first quarter lead. I think he scored 7 of their first, maybe 10 points. He was the guy that got into that mid-range against the drop, and that's where he excels. And I just see that again. Speaking of adjustments, I think they're going to try to take Duncan Robinson out of the picture, which always seems to happen in these 2-game sets. And the second game rolls around, Duncan Robinson becomes less effective. And when they do that, that opens up Kendrick Nunn on the ball even more. So I just feel like if there's anybody that can benefit from this game offensively, it's Kendrick Nunn.
Greg, we know that the Heat's mindset this year has not always been in the right place. They've just been in Boston now for almost 70-something hours. At this stage, the benefits to getting this tonight, I mean, you're getting a week off, right? So at some point, right? I mean, a week off to practice at least. I would have to think that this is the throw your best. You and I talked about this. Maybe this is another Jimmy Butler 40-plus minute game tonight. You just finish him.
I think you're onto something because there's a couple reasons. One, it locks you into the top 6, so that situation, like, even though we can go back and forth on who we want to play in the first round and who would we rather face, like, ultimately I think that, like, just not being in the play-in is a huge deal for this specific group. So that's a big incentive tonight. And here's the other thing that I just think is it bodes well for Miami. I'll just say this: Joel Embiid is sitting tonight for Philly out of nowhere. I think that as you see the standings start to lock up for a team like Philly, they may start to sit people. So there could be opportunities for them to, if Atlanta can slip up, there's going to be opportunities here that I think we didn't expect with Philadelphia particularly.
All right, let's float around. Bricky, you go first today. Who wins?
What, tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, Celtics by like 12.
Okay. Ricky?
Oh, you wanted more? I can give you some more.
Oh, all right. We'll take a little more. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Look, at this point, Miami, like you said, they don't like, what is it, privilege, prosperity. They can't seem to handle it. And something tells me it's almost like these guys want the extra challenge of the play-in. And if they lose, that increases their odds of making that happen, I think.
You're not really
Actually, maybe not.
Ricky, you're not going to argue they want the challenge of the play-in. Okay.
At this point, they like the beating. Look at this season. They lost to teams they shouldn't have just to put themselves in this position. Why not?
Okay.
Why not?
All right. Roblica, improve on that.
Yeah, Ricky's absolutely wrong. The Heat do not want to be in the play-in, right? We want to make sure that we secure the spot as soon as possible because this game is almost as important, if not more important, than one of the finals games because this is going to lock you into having that week break and having the older players like Goran, like Jimmy, even like Dedmon, he's coming off, those guys going to need that extra week. And having that week, being able to prepare for the team that we're going to have in the first round is crucial. I think the Heat get a win tonight, and I think we get a double-digit win too.
Brady?
He makes a good point.
Brady?
Yeah, at first I thought it was going to be a split. So I kind of head in the direction of Boston winning. But the way that the Jaylen Brown thing went down, the way Brad Stevens talks about adjustments I talked about earlier, I feel like this one's going to be a mess for Boston, and I think he could win.
Greg?
A big old Bam game, and we sweep the 2 in Beantown.
There better be a big old Bam game here coming soon. I'll tell you this. My only thought on this. I had Ira on with me on Onsite Radio. He called this the biggest regular season game in Heat history.
Come on!
I just woke up for a nap. I don't Heat history. I mean, I feel like I've sat next to Ira for more important Heat regular season games, and he's covered the damn team since '88. Hyperbole aside, I think the Heat win a close game tonight. I think they have to grind this one out, and they figure out a way to win it, which is about as optimistic as I get these days. All right. Thank you to our sponsors, Biscayne Bay Brewing. Also, our friend insurancebylinet.com. That's at A Aggressive Insurance. Greg and I will be awake after the game. I don't know about Alex, but we'll figure that out. Check out Post Up. Got some of these guys on that one as well. Have a good night.
Knicks in 6.
Knicks suck.
Welcome back to the shoot around. The Miami Heat beat the Boston Celtics on Mother's Day, 130-124, and they play against the Celtics again tonight. No Jaylen Brown, most likely no Robert Williams for the Celtics, obviously no Victor Oladipo for the Heat. Ariel, what would a win mean against this Celtics team who really has their backs up against the wall? If they lose this game, they're locked into being in the play-in game.
It would mean that you essentially, relegate the Celtics to the play-in round, and you essentially keep yourself out of the play-in round, and that's really all it comes down to. That should be the goal for this team. It hasn't looked so great until the last couple of weeks where the Heat have played substantially better as they've gotten healthy, save for Victor Oladipo. Obviously, the goal right now should be the 4-5 matchup, which is very much within reach for the Heat. If the Knicks drop a game or two and the Heat are able to win 3 of their final 4, maybe their final 4, including tonight, they probably play themselves into that matchup.
Yeah, avoid the play-in at all costs. This Heat team just you can't feel comfortable with them in the play-in, but if they get that week of rest and you get some time to game plan and you know who your matchup is going to be as the 3 seed or the 4-5, things get very interesting for this Heat team. We've said this team will play better once they're in the playoffs. They're more of a series team as opposed to a one-game sample size team. So to that, I do want to ask you this. The Heat have won, I believe, 9 of their last 12, and they've won 9 of their last 11 with Jimmy Butler. So 1 loss came without Jimmy. Has this team finally turned the corner?
Have they turned the corner? That's kind of a tough thing to say confidently with this team. They haven't played beaten the best team so much in the last few weeks where they've been hotter, but they've gotten wins in spots where earlier this season they weren't getting those wins. Now, the fact that they're getting healthy, and like you said, they're a team that is better built to take advantage of matchups in the playoffs. When you've got a guy like Spo, you've got a guy like Jimmy, guys like that who can dissect teams over a set period of time. I feel much better about them going forward. It'll be matchup dependent for me, but yes, I do feel like they've gotten better, and I'm more confident in them going forward.
I 100% agree. I think Dwayne Dedmon makes a huge difference for this team in terms of unlocking the bench production, and the guards have been playing better. So with all that being said, it looks like they're getting there, and we'll see what happens in the playoffs. Hopefully the Heat get a win tonight. Go Heat.
Hey, Spo. Just the energy and the effort you guys came out with offensively, and you guys were pretty much able to sustain that even in the second half in one of the biggest games of the year. What did you like about the way you guys played, especially offensively today?
Well, the menu was, diverse, and a lot of guys felt like they were in rhythm and involved. And that's when we're at our best, when there's a lot of different threats out there on the court or on any given possession.
And then Jimmy playing 40 minutes, I know you tried to give him a little bit of a rest in the beginning of the fourth quarter. How hard was it to keep him on the bench today, and how impactful those minutes?
It's hard. Probably for every team. You can just see how much he settles our team, offensively when, they were making a run in the fourth quarter, and you have to expect, games to be a full 48 minutes. And they made a great push. But we were able to, get the ball to Jimmy, kind of get to our spots and just play off of his decision-making. And that just gives your team, an incredible amount of confidence, going down the stretch in close games.
Thanks, Paul.
Next, we'll go to Tim Reynolds.
Eric, on those pushes, Boston they've sort of been comeback kings a lot this year. I'm sure you knew or expected that they were going to make a push, and they ended up making like 3 of them, I think.
Yeah.
What's the thing about you guys about the poise? I mean, it never got helter skelter. There didn't seem to be a whole lot of panic.
Yeah.
What did you like
No,
about those?
we're really just competing with a mindset that this is going to take a full 48 minutes, if not longer. It's not like that we were just trying to play cautious or prevent offense or anything in that second half. I thought there were some really good things offensively. Even when we were up, I think defensively we have some areas that we have to shore up, no doubt.
I know the whole world calls their moms today. Of course, we all know what Maryland means to Bam. For him to be almost perfect, 5 for 5 and 10 for 11.
Yeah.
What else, something extra there on Mother's Day, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, their relationship is really special. I love seeing them, the two of them together, being able to share this incredible NBA experience together, and Bam, hasn't forgotten one bit, about how he is raised and why he is the man that he is, right now, and that's because of great motherly love and guidance. But I do want to wish all the mothers out there happy Mother's Day, and in particular the mothers, our wives and the moms and everybody in our traveling party. This has been such an extraordinary year and a half for so many reasons, and the moms in our traveling party have had to make great sacrifices and hold down the forts for us at home. We just really, really appreciate that. It feels like we've been on the road, one super long road trip. We get to experience this while, the moms are at home, with kids and everything. So really appreciate all of our moms.
Thank you, Eric.
Next we go to Ira Winderman.
Eric, I know I came in a previous life in different uniforms, but to see what Fournier and Kemba did against you tonight, did that sort of rekindle some old nightmares for them?
Yeah, and look, they're a really potent offensive team, and both those guys have been in a really good rhythm, of late. You're going to have to bring a great competitive nature and also play well, to beat this team on their court. And there's some things that we have to get to work on. We'll start that process tomorrow to try to be better.
Eric, if you win on Tuesday, you avoid the play-in round. You get a 5-day break minimum before the start of the playoffs. I mean, is everyone aware of the stakes, and how significant is that? Thank you.
Everybody understands the context. You can't obsess about the context of it. It's about bringing your best competitive game, and how do you do that? And that's what we'll be focused on. The meaning and significance and the pressure and the context. If you're a competitor, which our guys are in that locker room, what you really want is all of those things to bring out the best in your team, and hopefully that can happen.
Next we go to Dave Hyde.
Yeah, Eric, you talked about Jimmy's play in the, getting the ball to him in the second half to settle down, or get everybody in the position. In the first half, when you guys are scoring 79, he takes one shot.
Yeah.
Can you get coach's perspective of what you're seeing, what he's seeing out there? And
yeah, Dave, it's the epitome of a guy that's just competing in an NBA basketball game to win. It's not about his stats, it's not about his shots, it's not about scoring. It's about whatever is necessary. And in this game, that's to line up against they're one of the association's most explosive scorers, and then offensively just to read the game. And part of that was allowing other guys to really get into a great rhythm. Duncan being one of them, and some of the offense was run through Jimmy as well, where he was just facilitating. In the fourth quarter, he knew that he had to be a little bit more assertive, looking to score and settle us, and that's what he did.
Great, thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Cooper Moorhead.
So just because you have to turn around and play these guys again, when you watch the tape, is there anything you expect to be seen defensively when you go through it?
Yeah, you know, there's some things, but I'm going to get to the film before I answer that. You know, they seemed appeared to get some easy baskets and some random situations that we need to be much better with. It's a very dangerous offensive team, as we all know, and they have, you know, a couple guys, a handful of guys that can go for really big nights. And you know, I thought we did some really good things offensively. I think defensively, because of, you know, a lot of it's to credit them. You know, it was not. We didn't, I think, do as well as we can, our best version defensively.
Thank you.
Next we'll go to Brady Hawk.
Hey, Coach. Duncan was seeing the Jason Tatum matchup frequently today. Just how much have you noticed him improving on that end of the floor where you feel comfortable enough for him to see those type of matchups?
He can't do it by himself, that's for sure. And we're not asking him to do that by himself. So there's a lot of scheming on both sides. Have to be in the right position, take away what he can take away, but other guys really have to be involved, and that's not just exclusive to the Duncan Robinson situations. They're that dangerous offensively that your team defense has to be it has to be great. You have to be on a string. You have to be committed to doing tough things, and we need to be better in a few areas for the next one.
All right, next we'll go to Mateo Mayorga.
Well, Coach, how was Jimmy able to find the mismatch so easily and have Kemba Walker guarding him so many times?
You know, it's not necessarily about you know, the mismatches. Like I said, there's things, a lot of things going on both ways. It's about competition. It's about doing what's necessary. That's what was necessary, you know, tonight, and particularly in that fourth quarter. It could be different. It probably will be different, you know, the next game, and we have some areas that we need to improve on. And we'll get to work tomorrow.
Next, we'll go to Jacopo from Around the Game, Italy.
Hi, Coach. And which is the main point of emphasis you work on coming the playoffs?
We'll just be focused on preparing for this next game. We know how competitive it'll be.
All right, Coach, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.